How do we define what a virtue is? Is there a scale that we can use to determine what what virtue is versus vice? The author says yes. The author says that the definition of virtue is this. He says anytime you have two extremes, one on the high end, one on the low end, the middle point is going to be the virtue. So you have two extremes. Too much of this quality, too little of that quality. These are both vices. Right in the middle, if you strike that right balance, right in the middle, this is where you get virtue. So any quality, if you want to know what makes it bad, what makes it good, look at the extremes and look at the middle point. The middle point is the virtue. The two sides, the two ends of the spectrum are the vices. One will be excess, the other will be the deficiency of that quality. So every quality, we could say, in other words, there's two extremes for every quality. There's two extremes and there's a midpoint. That midpoint is the virtue. And this is similar to Aristotle's golden mean. Aristotle in Nicomachean Ethics, he also presents the same theory. When he wants to define what virtue is, he gives the golden mean, the midway, the middle point between two extremes. Aristotle says this is what makes something good. This is how we define virtue. And this is called Aristotle's golden mean. So probably the author, he somewhat took this from Aristotle, since Aristotle is way back from the Greeks. But it's also true. He believes that this is true. And he gives examples. Before his examples, I'll mention one very, very obvious example. Take the example, as you can see, eating food. If you eat too much food, excess, that extreme, that's bad for you. Too little food, that's also bad for you. You'll malnourish your body and get sick. So what's good? Just right in the middle. Eat whatever is enough for you. That's what keeps your body healthy. Too much is bad, too little is also bad. That's one, obvious example. The examples that the author gives, he gives the examples with those four qualities that we mentioned. Remember, wisdom, courage, chastity, modesty, and justice. He says, how do we know when it becomes good, when it becomes bad? He says, use the scale. For example, when it comes to wisdom, why is wisdom good? How do we know it's the virtue? Because there's too much wisdom and too little. When there's too little, that's on the side of deficiency. We call it foolishness. Someone isn't wise. Everything he does, it backfires and makes, counter results, gives him bad results. When someone acts foolish, this is bad, of course. On the other side, when someone overthinks something or overplans something, it becomes an obsession. You're over planning, we tell him. You're overthinking this. So should I, for example, go and have food in a restaurant? He sits and plans for an entire week. You know what? I'm a wise person. I want to make sure it's a good decision. No, this is too much. You're, taking it too far. So too much thinking, this is bad. Too little thinking, you'll make the wrong decision, a foolish decision. So what's the right thing? Right in the middle. And this is what we call wisdom. When you think, but you don't overdo it, think too much. So this is wisdom. Wisdom is the point, the midpoint between foolishness and overthinking, overplanning. Number two, courage. Courage is midpoint between cowardice, being a coward, and number two, recklessness. Too much courage sometimes, it's not good, because it won't be courage anymore. It will be recklessness. Someone could say, I'm so strong, I'll go on the street, in the highway, and I'll stand in front of cars and move when they're coming. Is this courage? No. This is a very bad quality. It's not a good quality, because it's too much to that side. Excess courage is bad. Modesty or chastity, as we said. Too much of it is indulgence. When you want everything, you have that greed, that's bad. Too little of it, or monasticism, when you don't want anything, that's also bad. But remember, we said it may harm your body. In order to keep the body functioning, you need something. Likewise, justice. He says it's between submissiveness and oppression. Oppression is, when you basically deny other people their right and trump on their rights. That's on the side of excess. And on that side is when, you don't even ask for your own right, you don't care, you're basically, you're indifferent about anything. He says, no, justice. Justice in technical turns, it means right in the middle. Taking your haqq, your right, and giving other people their right. Don't deny other people their right, and also take your right. If you deny other people their rights too much, it's all about you, that's bad. That's oppression. And if you're so careless about yourself and your haqq and your rights, then that's submissiveness. That's also bad. Likewise, an example I can give with generosity. The quality of generosity is right in the middle between stinginess, absolutely no giving, and number two, too much of it, which is prodigality. When you're, excess spending, you're just giving everything away, you're wasting your money and what you have. That's also bad. And finally, being truthful. Now, this is an example that some have said, but we'll come and we'll critique this example. Being truthful is right in the middle between understating something and exaggerating. No, be right in the middle and tell it as it is. Don't understate it nor exaggerate